Welcome, luminaries. I have a beautiful and oh so vulnerable episode for this season of both American Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. Today, I'm bringing in someone who we're going to be speaking about gratitude and bringing in more light during times of conflict. So, tune in to this lovely episode with Tara Townsend. Welcome to Star Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be. Hello, hello, luminaries. Welcome back. Today, I have a beautiful guest, Tara Townsend. She is an Aquarius sun and a Sagittarius moon, just like me, but with a Capricorn rising, and the founder and creative force behind Adara Rituals, a modern Jewish lifestyle brand. She is the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, and Tara started Adara to nourish her connection to her heritage and elevate the art of Jewish ritual. And she's bringing in more divine feminine into Judaism. Welcome, welcome, Tara. I'm so delighted that you joined me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to be here.
Yes, we're going to be having some pretty open and deep and loving conversations today. And I feel like the energy of the cosmos and these sacred days of, American Thanksgiving and then Hanukkah, which is so closely related to the astrology. It always happens during the new moon, around the new moon phase, the darkest moon phases, right before the solstice. It's just such a time to shine the light on what is most important to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hanukkah, even though people think of it mostly as a commercial holiday, there are some beautiful spiritual elements. And those are the things that I am most in love with: connecting to the moon, shining light, rituals, traditions, getting together, especially now as everything feels really dark. How can we shine a light for ourselves and for others? And so I think it's going to be more important than ever.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for joining me today because I want to share a little bit about what we're going to be covering today. And then before we dive into a conversation, I'd like to share a little blessing. The two of us had kind of crafted a little gratitude blessing to get us started on this conversation. But today we're going to be really speaking about gratitude and why it's so important during these times to soften the edge of extremism. We're going to be talking about what it means to have a Jewish identity. If you remember, I am Jewish. We're going to touch on just really a high overview of our opinions and feelings about just the ongoing conflict, but really in order to spark the conversation about how to open up our heart spaces and move away from binaries. Then Tara is going to share with us an amazing, beautiful, expanding love meditation that we all can use. And then we're going to talk about Hanukkah and why sacred objects for rituals are so important, especially when we're bringing in the balance of the divine feminine. So, does it sound good to you, Tara?
Sounds beautiful.
All right. Well, let's open up with a little blessing and a prayer because I know today's conversation, especially during these times of conflict when there's just so many extremes of emotions, that where can we find these places of peace and openness and gratitude? So I'd like to open up our conversation today with a blessing so that we can open our hearts to so many different positions and really feel the opening of love to really soften our edges so that we can experience more compassion and empathy and gratitude for all that live on this beautiful earth. Is there anything that you'd like to add to our blessing?
I just want to extend love for everyone who's listening in. And it can feel so small, one step, one podcast, one morning, but that's how change really does happen. So I'm so thrilled to be connecting with your audience who are all taking part in, honestly, what is a massive awakening on this planet. So it's really an incredible time to be experiencing life in the 3D. And I'm thrilled to be able to have this conversation.
Beautiful, beautiful blessing. So, even if you are not Jewish or not religious, the conversation that we're really having today is getting to the heart of the spirituality. And I know if you're a listener here, you're all about universal love and spirituality. So find a way to place this into your heart because there's so much light that we are going to share today. So Tara, let me ask you, I'm curious to know from your heart, why is gratitude so important during these times?
There is so much to be grateful for. Certainly, our own health and safety right now is something I am abundantly grateful for every day. Um, when there are times of conflict and turmoil, which there are always somewhere on this planet now, it's coming more into focus. But we don't realize, especially here in the US, how many privileges we are afforded every single day. On Shabbat in particular, when we say our blessings over the food, I am so blown away at the bounty that we have here in California, how lucky we are to live in San Francisco, how incredibly lucky we are to live in an environment where we can have safety, where we can gather, where we can feel belonging. And so community and the abundant blessings that we are afforded just from a beautiful life in America is something that I am abundantly grateful, which is a wonderful connection to Thanksgiving, because even though America has a past that is also not the that can come into focus during Thanksgiving,
Yes.
where, we have not always done right by the indigenous people. And it is a true blessing to live on this land. It is a true blessing to eat the food from this land. It is a true blessing to be in America right now.
Yes. And so many of my listeners, a majority are that are state United States based, but we also have like a lot of global listeners. And so no matter where you are in this world, there's so many nations that are practicing this idea of gratitude, especially as we move into the most gracious of signs, Sagittarius season. And I want to add to some of the gratitude also, I love what you brought up in terms of gratitude about really not only recognizing, but appreciating the privileges that we have. Likely every listener here has these privileges of freedom, of going where you need to go, to be able to, as a woman, to speak up. We were talking yesterday to drive, the resources, to have technology to be able to listen to this podcast, and the time and the freedom to be working in your purpose or working in jobs that you absolutely love, and to be able to hug your loved ones and fill your belly and to feel safe and secure in your home. These are things that sometimes and even our health, being able to breathe freely, just these like little things. They're not little things, they're giant things that sometimes we forget. And so it's a beautiful time to bring back that gratitude and appreciation for all of our bountiful privileges. So thank you for reminding us of that, Tara. So I want to talk a little bit about the Jewish identity. Personally for me, since this conflict began, 6 weeks and going now, there has been so much divisiveness and so much extremism. Some of my audience knows, and like in the beginning, the intro of my podcast, I declare that I'm a Filipino Jewish astrologer. And it wasn't really until a couple of years ago that I actually started telling people and declaring my Jewish heritage. Like you mentioned that your grandparents were Holocaust survivors. My great grandparents, my great grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. I would not be here if he didn't escape. And growing up in Hawaii, my mom married a Filipino man, and there wasn't a Jewish community, and my grandmother ended up baptizing me. of all things, but it is my mother that is Jewish. And I have lived in my DNA and in my just my fear of, people don't expect me to be Jewish. So I can, not, if I don't say anything, nobody would expect it. But now, proudly saying that I have this heritage in me, I feel proud, and I also feel threatened and a little bit of fear at this time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, I definitely feel the Jewishness in my DNA. I have said before, the attack on October 7th, I've been saying that I wear the Holocaust like a second skin. It's something that I probably have thought about every single day. It's something that is inescapably a part of who I am. And that trauma, that resiliency, that idea of wanting to live, to have something to say, to carry on, to carry the torch. It's something that I grew up with. We grew up talking about the Holocaust, talking about those lived experiences around the dinner table. So for me, it was never really about being in the textbooks. It was really about in the conversation. And I grew up on the East Coast and in Massachusetts, and there was a lot more. There was the ability to connect with other Jewish people and to go to other people's bat mitzvahs, and so there was community there. It's of course frightening to see what is happening all around the world, but it's not only what's happening, it's also about how I'm metabolizing this new information, because it's quite shocking. The gruesome atrocities and the violence is shocking.
It is quite alarming. There's alarms on all of the edges, right? There's so much extremism on so many ends. And while the two of us, we're not going to speak about the specifics of the ongoing conflict in Israel, there's just absolutely so much suffering on so many sides that I don't want to put our conversation in there, but I wanted to talk about this idea that you were exploring with me earlier about this idea of the multiplicity and how to take sides of extremism is binary. Could you share a little bit more about what multiplicity means to you and how we can use that to fight the forces of binary?
Absolutely. And in order to actually achieve peace, in order to actually understand the other side, there needs to be capacity to hold multiple truths at the same time. Just because one thing is true does not mean that the other thing is necessarily false. That's scarcity mindset, and that will get us nowhere. We can't actually think that we can get peace by holding tight to two opposite ends, two ends that are both extreme. It's very polarizing. And so the only way that we actually create these bridges is to acknowledge truths and to live with the ability to understand that multiple things can be true at the same time. It's a yes and statement. And so it's not about me barking at you that my side is right and your side is wrong. It's about communicating how can we hold truths that the other person also believes and find common ground.
I love that idea of the multidimensionality of finding the common ground, finding the universal truths, finding the empathy and compassion for each other and the love for each other, instead of being on those extremes of the sharp yes, no, black, white, of binary thinking. And I see this a lot, not only like in spirituality and just like conflicts, but also in our own identities. I've worked with a lot of leaders, and as somebody who is multiracial, I've
Mm-hmm.
always been exploring these places in between because I never fit in any one of the extremes. And so simply be having that experience, I'm all about the multifacetedness, the multidimensionality, all of like those gray spaces where we can find our unity, our common ground, our peaceful consciousness.
I could not agree more. Multi hyphens, multi mixing pot. That is absolutely, that is who we are as a people. I'm in an interfaith marriage. My children, they identify as Jewish, but if we were given, the opportunity to extend that, my kids are Jewish Quakers. My husband is a Quaker. His family came over because they fled religious persecution. So, on one side of the coin, it leads to the other. And so we think of things in these polar opposites. Day is not the opposite of night. There are two sides of the same cycle. And so we need to be able to understand the wholeness as opposed to trying to fit everything into these tiny little boxes, because guess what? We tried that. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
You're absolutely speaking to my people, because we're always talking about wholeness and all the little bits and pieces and bringing the shadows up and looking at everything. So when we were talking earlier about how to plan out our conversation, you had some really beautiful ideas around steps to embodying peace and expanding your capacity to hold multiple truths. Could you talk to a little bit about that?
Yes, I hold this rather heretical idea that we should not be waiting for a savior. We should not be waiting for God to bring peace down. We should not be waiting for a savior to appear and save us from ourselves. I believe that as humans in the 3D, in the Kabbalistic tradition, this Sephirot, the Sephira that we're in, Malkuth is earth. We're here. We're here in the 3D, and those gods and angels, they are not in the same place as we are. Maybe we can see them, maybe we can feel them, but they are not here. It is up to us. And therefore, the way that we change the world, it depends on us. It depends on our ability to be our own saviors, to really embody peace, to embody the deity, to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And so what I have really been practicing myself is pushing myself to the edge. How far can I walk this walk? As the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, as someone who wants fiercely to live Jewishly and proudly, how far can I push myself in order to truly embody that peace? And I know that if that work is done by each of us, that is the medicine, that is the magic that can change the world.
I love this so much. I'm smiling and my heart is smiling, because these conversations that we're having, I work with so many different spiritual leaders and spiritual teachers, whether they're Native American or astrologers or practitioners of like Akashic records or tarot or intuitive. And these are all of the same messages coming through in all of these different pathways. And so could you share just a little bit, if people aren't familiar with what is the relationship to the religion Judaism and Kabbalah?
Great question. Yeah, so Kabbalah is ancient Jewish mysticism. So
Love it.
it's incredible. And for your audience in particular who love, I'm sure, tarot and astrology, it's all based in Kabbalah. Kabbalah was the foundation for all of these kind of mystical schools of thought before they were really formalized. And so Kabbalah is a blueprint. It's a roadmap for understanding the world. You can take it all the way back to the Big Bang and understanding the oneness, the singularity, and how everything is connected. And then you can stretch it out so that you can understand the levels of consciousness, which is why I think Judaism and Buddhism and other religious philosophies that are really geared towards enlightenment and elevating consciousness are so aligned. And so Kabbalah, the tree of life, there are these 10 sephira, these spheres, and within each one of them, there are different forms of energetic emanation, consciousness, wisdom, and we're down here, we're in the physical, we're really in the physical. And for us to get to that astral plane, for us to get to those higher level of consciousness, Kabbalah lays out a map as to how to achieve that. So what the chakra system is also a map. So there
Yes.
are these, and the thing that'll blow your mind is when you start overlaying these maps. You can overlay the tree of life on top of the chakras, and you can look. And so, it's this massive, amazing hologram, how this wisdom has been reflected and refracted through to many different schools of philosophy and
Yeah.
wisdom. Kabbalah resonates the most with me because I am a person of the Jewish faith, and therefore this is my language of my heart. It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful guidepost to start any spiritual journey and to understand, what am I doing here? Where am I going? How do I get there? It's a beautiful map.
We see a lot of Kabbalah in another kind of star language, like human design. You see a lot of the Kabbalah in there and chakra systems, and they are definitely all dialects of the same
Mm.
energetic language. I fully believe that. It's so interesting, right? Because I know that by culture and heritage, I'm Jewish, but I don't practice any religion. And I didn't grow up, in Hawaii, we didn't have, there wasn't a temple that I went to. Everything that I knew about Judaism was probably about Hanukkah, when my mom would light the candles
Oh,
and sing the song, and that was the extent. But I didn't realize until moving to San Francisco how much of that wisdom was already in my bones.
mm,
Before people on Instagram, like for 8-10 years, I'd always been practicing new moon rituals and ceremonies. I
mm,
would get together with my girlfriends, we'd cook a nice dinner, we would talk about the seeds that we wanted to plant before it got all really popular. And I was always so drawn to the new moon. The full moon, beautiful, yes, but the new moon was something so rich to me. And then I got invited to a Rosh Chodesh. Is that how you pronounce it? I always
yeah.
and a Rosh Chodesh is a women's circle during the new moon. It's a very traditional Jewish ceremony where women gather. And my friend who invited me was like, "Oh, I thought you knew this. I thought this is what your new moon ceremonies were about." And I was like just blown away. I had no idea that this was like just so part of me, that
Yeah.
it was just deep in my bones. And so there was also, way, way, way back, in the ancient times, in the Hellenistic times, in the Middle East, where all of the different religious faiths came together, they all practiced their form of astrology. And astrology is definitely woven into so much of the Jewish tradition and tapestry, even saying things like Mazel Tov, blessed planets. I mean, just it's all there.
Yeah. I mean, Muzzle Tov is like literally like lucky star you were born under. Like, I mean, it's encoded in the words, and it's clearly encoded in you. And there's so much of it that if you just dig into it a little bit, you'll find a treasure trove. And so that's, when I started my company, I literally said, like, I'm shining new light on ancient wisdom. And
Yes.
so we're not making this up. We are enacting things from the past. We're doing it in our own time and space because here we are in this time. But
Yes.
these have been done for millennia. These traditions, these circles, this idea of the new moon, the new month. I mean, Rosh is head, so it's the head of the month, and that's how we would mark time. And so, like Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, it's how you would demarcate meaning. It's how you would create, different rituals all around the understanding where the planet is with the relation to the sun and the moon.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Those parts, the rituals and the ceremonies and the marking of time, and the marking of time to reflect and plant and grow and rest. Those are such beautiful ceremonies to me. So I want to hear more about Adara and how that came to be, and especially at this time of Hanukkah.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited to talk about it. I actually created Adara, which I had no intention of doing. But it was the pandemic had hit, everything was shut down. It was super depressing. And then it was dark and it was winter. And Oh gosh, man, that was really rough. And I wanted to bring some joy into my home. And my daughter at that time, she was 6 years old. And we were looking around. She's like, I want to decorate for Hanukkah. And during the pandemic, she had been setting up birthday parties for all of her stuffies. Like she just was like trying to socialize and trying to gather and trying to make sense of the world around her. And so we went, to all the places you would go. We went to the Party City and the Target and the Michaels, and I came back with, tinsel and paper and, tacky things that with puns on them. And we put it up everywhere, everywhere. And I
Doesn't
was
seem
like,
like your style, the
oh my God.
kitsch.
No. So I really sat with it. I really sat with it. And I was like, wow, this is doesn't make me feel connected to my roots. This doesn't make me feel like I'm honoring anything. And I couldn't find the wisdom. I couldn't find the purpose. I literally felt like a compass that couldn't find north. I was just spinning. I would sit in the room and I would spin trying to land. Oh, because it has a smiling menorah, should that mean something to me on this thing I have on my mantle? And I couldn't figure it out. And then my mother-in-law, who was visiting us, she came over and she was being very polite and she said, oh, your decorations are very and I was like, so tacky and horrible, right? And she was like, oh, thank God you said that. I didn't want to offend you. And she was like, Hanukkah's over, why are they still up? And I was like, well, because I'm still mad about it. Like, what are you mad about? I'm like, I'm just mad that this doesn't mean anything to me and that they should do better. And who should do better? And I was like, the people that make the stuff should do better stuff. And she was like, well, who's going to do that? And I was like, well, I could, write a strongly worded letter to Party City and Crate and Barrel and tell them. And I was like, this is just so ridiculous. Like, who am I going to tell? Who? And then here I am telling you about being the change that you want to see. And so I realized I was talking to myself. No one else was going to do it. No one was going to say, I know how to make really meaningful Jewish decor, and I am going to spend my time and heart and energy and resources making the world's most meaningful and most beautiful Jewish decor. And I was like, okay, well, I guess if no one else is going to do it, then I'm the girl for the job. And so I really wanted products that I felt were worthy of my traditions, that would inspire my kids, that would inspire me. And I challenged myself. I was like, okay, challenge accepted. Can I make the things I want to see? What are those things? And it's been an incredible wellspring of inspiration and passion to bring all of these products to life. But I'm so proud of what we've created. We have a diversity of fabrications, a diversity of designs, and each one of them is special and unique and holds so much authentic energy. And there is a level of authenticity that no big box store is ever going to be able to provide.
It seems like, I know you call them decor and products, but the way that you speak about it with like all of the meaning and the purpose and like the symbolism, the reminders, the beauty, the effort that you poured into the design and creation of these products, they really are ritual objects. They're objects to pour your meaning into, to celebrate that when you see it, it sparks that reminder of the holiness, of the faith, of like the sacred within.
Absolutely. I joke that I am a temple priestess and I'm here to adorn your temple, but like that's actually what I feel. I feel like in my past lifetime that I was weaving the temple veil in between, the Holy of Holies. Like I want to adorn your temple. Your home is your temple. And I wanted to make products that were worthy of that. I wanted to make ritual art. And so
can I just say something like really quickly about your astrology for our astrology lovers here, this adorning priestess, temple priestess, has Scorpio midheaven with Jupiter on the midheaven and Sun conjunct Venus in the first house in Aquarius. So, I mean, hello, yes, indeed.
Validating. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And so, here I have a beautiful sign that we made for your mantle or your entryway. And I call this my Luna Menorah design because I have the waxing and waning moons. And this is a new moon, even though it looks like the crescents, this is the new moon for the Shamish because, it's a new moon holiday. This really is about the new moon. And I just want to bring people back to the reason we celebrate, the reason we're here. And so each of these products has these layered meanings that are, yes, of course, they're beautiful. Yes, of course, you should put them out and celebrate the holiday. But if you want to talk about them, they're products you can actually talk about. They're products you can engage with. You can always learn a little bit more, dig a little deeper. And that's what inspires me.
Yes, I'd like to share a little bit. So this is your second year of production, is that correct?
Correct. Our
And
second
so Tara and I met through my cousin, Elena, just like such a small world, my Filipino cousin was working with you. And she was so excited about all of the Hanukkah products that you had brought out last season. So of course I got the very first dreidel that is this beautiful glass terrarium. If you're watching on video, Tara is holding it up and you can put like plants or fairy lights in there. And I remember and there's a little one also, I remember when my family came over and saw that, they were just like, wow, what is that? And then I told all of my Jewish friends, and I think we sold you out that first year.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. So we brought it back this year and we brought it back in another colorway. So we have it in an antique black, and then we brought it in the little mini size. So yeah, we want to make, even though the dreidel, I would say, is not a spiritual object, it's a symbol. It's really a symbol of Hanukkah. And even though it's essentially a toy, we don't have that many symbols. We don't have elves and stockings and candy canes and sleighs. And, we don't have that many symbols that really signify the holiday. We have a menorah, we have a dreidel. And so I really wanted to take the symbols that we had and elevate them in ways that became really meaningful and versatile. And the beauty of the terrarium is it's a vessel. And we have a whole collection of vessels that you can put your own style, your own intentions, your own ideas into it. And next year, you can make it completely different. Yes. So if you want, you can do flowers this year. I have one downstairs that has my kids' Legos in it. Oh. So, it's yours. It's a vessel for you to express yourself. And that's really how it kind of connects the dots and becomes spiritual. It becomes a ritual. I was really, frankly, envious of all my Christian friends who got to have this, before Christmas started, they got to have a ritual of setting up the tree. They got this beautiful ritual of gathering and adorning. And for me, we didn't decorate for Hanukkah. When Hanukkah started, you put out the menorah and that's it. So it doesn't start till the first night. And so there was none of that lead up. There was none of that anticipation. And I wanted to create moments of new ritual where we could provide opportunities to decorate, to adorn, to get excited. So put out your dreidels early. Change them 3 or 4 times before Hanukkah even begins. Put fresh flowers in them, then put succulents in them, then put fairy lights in them for a dinner party, and then let your kids put googly eyes and pom-poms in them, fine. Yeah. So I really want to expand Jewish ritual, not just honor, but also expand, because there is more that you can do with your family, with your friends, with your kids. And so that's really where I want to encourage people. Yes, they're beautiful decor. You can put them on your side table. They look stunning, but use them. And then tell me how you're using them.
We'll have to have you back for another episode to talk about your journey from design to production. Like that's a whole nother episode, like for probably like next year. Because I know my audience, most of us are business owners and entrepreneurs. So we would love to hear that journey. So there was one last thing that I wanted you to show us, and then you mentioned that you were going to offer a beautiful, open, loving heart or disco ball meditation.
My cosmic Shekhinah disco ball
Yes,
meditation is a
but
perfect opportunity for me to show.
yes, before we do that though, can you show us the challah cover? Yes, that one.
That's exactly the perfect lead in. So this is our tarot card
Yes.
of the Sabbath Queen. She is the
If you're
cosmic Shekinah. You're gonna
Yes,
explain
really
it?
quick. If you're
Mhm.
watching, if you're just listening, and not watching on video, it's this beautiful fabric that you put over your challah bread during Sabbath, Shabbat, and it's this beautiful queen. There's just all these like purple and black and pink. It's just beautiful. Okay, go on. I'm sorry to
Thank you
interrupt
so
you.
much. So this is the Sabbath Queen. So she's also known by a couple of names. There's not as many names for her as there is for the male form of God, Adonai, Yahweh, Yehovah, El Ab. So there's a lot of male forms of God. The Shekinah is the female form of God. And Shabbat is an incredibly female holiday. It's the day of rest. It's receiving. It's a very feminine energy. Here we have our Sabbath Queen Hala cover in gold and silver. So the Sabbath Queen, the Shekhinah, she is created of the earth and of the cosmos. So in our design, we actually have her behind her shoulders. We have these trees and plants and flowers coming out. And then in her hair, we have a Vesica Pisces, one of my all-time favorite symbols. And so I joke that we have similar hair, cosmos hair, don't care.
I have
So
my Cosmos hair
I got
too.
my cosmos hair.
Curly right
So
now.
yeah. So we wanted to give her a seat at the table. We wanted to bring in the feminine energy. And so that's why we created this challah cover, which is a transmission of the divine feminine right here. And bringing in her energy, I think, is going to be some of the most nourishing and healing energy that we can bring to our planet at this time, because we can see it out there. There is an abundance of masculine energy. We see it, we
Yeah,
feel it, we know it.
we
So
don't
it's
need
time.
more.
Yeah, it's time to bring in the divine feminine. And during Shabbat, you actually, when we light the candles and we wave our hands 3 times, we're calling in our soul, we're reconnecting with ourselves. And it's in this moment that we actually want to greet the Sabbath Queen. And for me, it's about really embodying what does that mean? Who is the Sabbath Queen and how do we embody her? And so I created a Shekhinah meditation to tap into her wavelength, tap into that current. And then recently I expanded that meditation to help us find that kind of razor edge of love, to increase our own capacity for love. So I would
Ooh.
love to share that with everyone.
Yes, let's do that. And before I forget, and I'll make an announcement of the link at the end as well. If you are interested in obtaining some of these beautiful Hanukkah and Jewish ritual objects and decor, make sure you head on over to adararituals.com, ADARA. And then you can also find them on adara.rituals on Instagram. All right, let's do this ritual or let's
Thank
this
you.
meditation.
Okay, ready? So we're going to
Yes.
tap into the Shekhinah current. So take a nice deep breath in, exhale, feel your body against the chair, the ground, wherever your bottom is, and however it's connecting with the earth. Feel held. And now imagine from your root chakra, imagine dropping down into the earth. We're going to plant ourselves into the center, and we're going to imagine a beautiful thread or a rope or a cord or a chain dropping down. Imagine the color, the thickness, the texture dropping from your root, piercing the crust of the earth and flowing down, 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 down into the center. And as you're tethering rope, thread, cord makes contact with the glowing green, beautiful jewel at the center, the heart of the earth, the heart of Tafiti, as I sometimes like to say. That beautiful, nourishing Earth Mother energy, wrap it around that vibrating, pulsating gemstone. And as you do, as you anchor, you're tethering into that current, you are feeling the energy from that Earth Mother traveling up that cord, up that channel that you've just created. Flowing energy from the center of the earth that provides everything we need in order to live, the earth that sustains us. Feel the energy of abundance traveling upwards. Now, the other part of Shekhinah is in the cosmos. So we need to, from our crown chakra, we need to create a beam of light from our golden crown. Put a beam of light through the atmosphere up into the cosmos and feel the white light energy of the heavens. And in the channel, in that beam of white light, feel the Shekhinah's cosmic radiant love. Receive it in that channel. And as it is coming down and down and down, feel the nourishing Earth Mother energy coming up and up and up, and let it meet in your heart. And let your heart expand with the energy that is of the earth and of the cosmos. Let your heart expand to twice the size as it was before. Its energetic light size, as it holds all of this love, this potent love energy. And now, with great love comes great responsibility, because we need to find someone to give this love to. So much love. So we need to find the most perfect recipient for our love. Your child, your lover, cute kitten. Just pour your unconditional, radiant rainbow of love onto this beautiful recipient. Imagine it painting them, glittery love all over them. But you still have so much love in your heart, and it still needs somewhere to go. So we're going to send that love to a perfect stranger. Someone maybe you passed on the street, someone you may have passed in the supermarket, someone you barely remember seeing their face. But why don't we try and give them some love? Let your love reach them. Let your love reach a perfect stranger. Maybe it's not as glittery. Maybe it's not as bright as the love for your child or your pet, but it's still there. And now here's where things get real tricky. Now we're going to find someone who maybe we don't like, who maybe we disagree with, who maybe is on the other side of that polarity spectrum, who maybe holds a belief we vehemently disagree with, but they are still human. And before they held that belief that we vehemently disagree with, they were also a baby. They were also a child. Maybe they also had a pet. Maybe they are a parent. Maybe they are a brother or a sister. And within them is still humanity. So we are going to find that humanity. We are going to find that common ground. And we are going to send our love to that person who we do not agree with, who we do not like, but we are going to give them our love. And maybe it's small, maybe it's just a glimmer, maybe we can't really get it out of our heart, but it's there and it's going and it's reaching them. And now the Shekhinah loves all this love. She's dancing around the room. She's dancing in this energy, and she brings out her magic disco ball. And that magic disco ball takes all the love in that room and whirls it around so it is indistinguishable. That rainbow cosmic glittery love that you gave to that person who you truly love is now mixed with the love that you gave to a perfect stranger and to someone who you disagree with. And that love is the language of peace and tolerance and unity. That is the language of the divine feminine. That is the language of abundance. Because you gave your love, you do not have to worry that you won't have enough for someone else. There is an abundant amount of love still flowing from the center of the earth and from the ether and the cosmos, pouring into your heart. You will never run out. And therefore, you can share it freely with anyone. And I hope that we can practice sharing that love with people we may not necessarily be inclined to love from the very first moment. But maybe we can recognize each other's humanity and share the love that is always within us. Thank you.
So beautiful. Felt like there was like just like a dance party of love here.
It is a divine feminine dance party.
Oh, what a treat and what a gift. Thank you so much. Like, this is fueling our way to our American Thanksgiving and to the season of Hanukkah, the darkest phase of the moon, right before the solstice, near the Sagittarius new moon. So beautiful. Thank you, Tara, for sharing this most intimate conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope that I get to come back and talk more about the divine feminine anytime.
Anytime. We talk woo here all the time. So you're welcome anytime. And if you want to grab your Adara rituals, beautiful decor and objects, head on over to Adara, ADARA, rituals.com, or on Instagram, adara.rituals. And, you know, if you're listening to this right on Sunday as we drop it, you'll get it in time for Hanukkah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.